We talk to the legends of the creative and entertainment industries. We talk to those on the rise. Lance Dean Anthony Nielsen asks about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. This is Outcast Creative, and this is Industry Interviews.
Ooh.
Hello, I think we're live this time, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Now we're live.
I had a slight technical glitch there. Now, apologies for not being on camera tonight, but Uninspired Reviewer is never on camera because if he was, any females watching would have an instant heart attack at his gorgeousness.
Oh.
And I mean, I often cause that on them for different reasons, but tonight I have a horrendous, chesty, horrible thing. I've been fighting this thing off and on last couple of weeks, and I've had a raging temperature all day. But the show must go on. So
Indeed,
we didn't want to cancel the stream because we've got some very special guests here tonight. We've got one live coming from Los Angeles. I think there's another one live coming from Sandhurst, and we'll be talking to the producer on the 1996 Napoleon movie,
classic,
starring of course that two-time nominee actor Martin Weir, sadly no longer with us, which is a shame. Never managed to bag that Oscar, but he was nominated. He was nominated twice.
Yep. He could have won. He could have won.
I mean, his performance as Napoleon is extraordinary, especially if you watch the 9-hour cut. Which was released in cinemas initially by the producer as one performance, but then they decided to split it in half and make it 2 screenings so they could charge people more money. Although $50 for a 9-hour movie, it's a pretty expensive ticket in the first place.
I mean, it's greedy considering the fact that you also have to pay popcorn. It wasn't even included in the ticket price. You know, that's even the worse.
That's very true. That's very true. I just want to shout out the people that are already watching before we bring in our first guest. And again, apologies for my coughing. But we are doing the last of the Nielsen ratings tomorrow night, unless I get any worse. If I do get more poorly, we'll postpone it to between Christmas and New Year. But let's see how I fare tomorrow, where we'll be talking about Jennifer Lopez's new film, Marry Me, which earlier today brought me to tears. I'm not sure if that was the movie or if that was because I felt ill. But with Owen Wilson. But a scene came up that hit me in the feels, and then I was blubbing all the way through the rest of this very Hallmark-esque romantic comedy. Yeah. So,
all right. I might have to check that out.
Well, I mean, it's got Jennifer Lopez in it. You know, always worth checking out. So thank you for coming on the quiz yesterday. We've also got the wonderful Stepenzo helping out backstage with some technicals. He's already put up the poster. There it is from I think that's from Los Angeles Boulevard in 1996. Martin Weir there looking like he's got some sort of tash because of the palm tree.
The palm tree, yeah. He's looking good actually. Even though just to complement the costume and the poster composition, it's great.
Yeah. He's looking really good considering he's dead. I mean, yeah. So now we're going to we've got a producer, the lead producer on the film. I think you did a bit of research. Did you? Was it including executives and assistant producers? Wasn't there something like 97 producers total?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of producers. It's crazy because of I think it was the fact that the immense budget was there and it had a couple of production problems, but man, it was it's kind of an Apocalypse Now situation where everything went wrong during the production, but the movie that came out was absolutely incredible. I mean, he gave Ridley Scott is nothing compared to this.
I mean, the 3-hour cut is pretty solid. I feel the 9-hour cut that we went to some fairly surreal scenes.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's bring our first guest in. He's coming all the way to us live from LA. It's producer Hamilton the First and Third. Did I get that? Here he is on set.
There he is.
The Egypt shoot in the film.
Mhm.
All that's missing from that photo is a cigar. Does he? He looks like a classic old Hollywood producer, and I think he fought to get his. Do you remember in the credits? Like he was the only producer that had the whole screen to himself.
Oh yeah, just
Kind of-
one full page of it was just him for quite a moment actually. So I think that he was one of the best. So it's great that we managed to get him in an interview as well. This is you probably won't see this anywhere except for maybe the big late night talk shows, and even then I've heard that he doesn't really appear on them. But
No,
we're
but
lucky.
I mean, fortunately, because we were able to give him that Louis Vuitton bag full of $50,000, he was up for coming on.
Oh yeah.
Blue Collar Loser takes a lot to get me to listen to something live, but I'll make time for this. It's going to be exceptional, sir. David Macy, salutations, mes amis.
Hey, David Macy.
This guy sounds familiar.
Oh, look.
You're absolutely right, Northern Bastard. Outcast is never late. In fact, he simply arrives exactly when he means to. I like that. And we've got Sapenzo in the chat helping out backstage, providing us with images as we go along. Right. Well, I think without any further ado, let's bring in our guest. If you are watching the stream, we thank you for your support. Please share the stream because on YouTube, there's never been one quite like this. So let's welcome to the Outcast Creative channel for the first time, producer Hamilton the First and Third.
Hey, how you doing? Hang on a minute. No, Channing Tatum cannot be in the movie. He keeps taking his shirt off, so he's a no-go. If he comes near my set again, I will blacklist him. Sorry. Hello.
So, do you need to reschedule the call, Hamilton, or are we still?
No. I mean, actors, right? Ego's the size of the moon. So, yeah, happy to be here. Happy to talk about my unsung masterpiece.
I have to say, you're looking quite young and dapper in this, but of course, this film was made in 1996, so we're going back a bit now.
Oh, those heady days. Grunge was coming to an end, and I thought, my God, let's make a Napoleon movie.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before we put up any other stills, let's just take that one down for a bit so we can see you properly in your nice abode there. Is that a grand piano at the back there?
Yeah, grand piano. I think it was Archie's. I mean, I can't play a thing, but, I'd like to have it there, so people could come and tinkle the ivories, as they say.
Have you had
completely understandable?
Yeah. Did you have any cast of Napoleon 96 or indeed Ridley Scott's Napoleon pop into your house and play on the piano at any time?
Oh, yeah. Well, Joaquin came to me for advice, on how to, approach the role. And I said, my God, just take your mark, say the lines, and can I say take your lines and just fuck off? I mean, sorry, I can't say that live, can I? Are we live?
Yeah,
no,
we are live.
Oh,
yes,
we have already marked this stream as unsuitable for children, so I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. And Ridley had some thoughts on what we eventually produced, and I said, Ridley, really? You're gonna look at me? I mean, have you seen Russell Crowe and Robin Hood? So yeah. Don't give me your thoughts. Just go away and do whatever it is you're thinking of doing.
Well, let's talk about how the 1996 production started. Because I mean, ultimately, you cast two-time Academy Award nominee, never won the Oscar, sadly, Martin Weir.
Yeah.
But there was a number of other kind of Napoleon proposals put through. I think Uninspired, you've got a list of some of the sort of more reported versions of the project.
So I am pretty interested because the amount of people that were supposed to play Napoleon is very interesting because we don't have the full story, but from what we've managed to piece together, we've heard that Peter Dinklage was one of them, but he wasn't big enough for the role. That was pretty interesting to read.
Yeah. I mean, big personality, but not too. He wasn't big enough at that time. I mean, it was a while till Game of Thrones came out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he-
my
yeah.
God, what an actor!
He just
Oh, yes.
done Living in Oblivion, and I think the Station
Yeah.
Agents. I think, are the
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we originally we were thinking of Tom Cruise originally, but
Mm.
you know, the guy's too short. I mean, Peter Dinklage Peter Dinklage is a giant compared to Tom Cruise. I
Oh,
mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's why we kind of looked another way. I mean, so, and plus the smile, always with the smile. No, we
Yes,
don't want Napoleon smiling, you know, and the crazy running. I just didn't think that would be Napoleon.
Well, we've had some conflicting inquiries considering Tom Cruise and him being cast as Napoleon, well, rejected as Napoleon, because one of the reasons has been said that he wanted to ride around on a Harley in Waterloo, and of course, you as the producer, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not a historical expert of Napoleonic times, and we'll be bringing in an expert in a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that there wasn't motorbikes in Napoleonic era.
Well, you know, I mean, we thought about it, bringing in the motorbikes because you know we need to appeal to the American audiences, and if they have something they can latch onto, like a Harley, sure, that is something that could sell in America. I mean, hey, we were originally thinking of filming Napoleon and then making it into a cartoon, because we could sell that in Japan with their Annie genre of films. You know, Annie. Yes. No, I think not Annie. I think that's it. And they love their cartoons there. You know, I mean, it's all about the money. I mean, we were gonna, you know, film it in Iceland at one point.
Oh yeah, that sounds very, very interesting. I mean, we've got some other rejected ones for Napoleon. I mean, could you shed a little bit of light on Dolph Lundgren? We heard that it was because he sounded vaguely French and European, which is the reason why he was rejected.
Yeah, he's got kind of that European lilt about him, and I just don't think, you know, we could sell him as a convincing European general. I mean, we wanted a badass, and you know, and plus he's really nice. You know, you meet the guy and he's so welcoming. What he does, he cooks you a chocolate cake when you first meet him, and you know, just to, you know, settle the nerves because he's a big guy. And once you get to know him, he's a total pussy. Nobody would believe him as a general. So that's why we kind of again looked another way.
I understand. Yeah.
Can you? I mean, can you shed some light on how the? Because I know at one point there was a strong argument from some of the other producers on the show that this should be a Muppet movie, and I believe like casting went in that direction at one point. We had Miss Piggy up for Josephine. I've got Kermit's costume fitting on my profile, which seemed what happened? What happened with that? Something to do with catering costing double because you had to pay for both the Muppets to be fed and the puppeteers.
Well, exactly, and it was a financial thing. We could, I mean, they were big at the time. You know, the Muppet movies were in re-release, and if we went down that road, I just think that the budget would have skyrocketed. And what we could do, we found with actors, we could pay them pittance and get away with murder. You know,
right? Well. Perhaps we shouldn't press that issue further. Yes. We've just had the actors strike resolve. We don't want this stream to be the cause of another one. No, a couple of other names that were in the mix for a while was Dustin Hoffman, I believe, and then Rick Moranis, but he wanted to stay with his family. And then Martin Lawrence was almost cast, but he had a scheduling conflict with Nothing to Lose.
Now, Martin Lawrence would have been a good. I wanted him. I really did, because I think he would have brought that bravado. I mean, Bad Boys had just come out, and then you know he could have brought that kind of street sensibility to Napoleon, and which I think we all want. I mean, we want to latch on to a hero, in this case, Napoleon, aka Martin Lawrence, to come in and save the day.
No, I mean, yeah, it's quite a shame because Nothing to Lose got him. The movie with Tim Robbins, and it's
Oh,
kind of he really showed what he could have brought to Napoleon on screen over there. I really think that it was in his heart as well. But man, these scheduling conflicts, I understand you as a producer, you probably face these all the time, and yeah.
yeah,
This is
absolutely.
this is a still of Martin Weir's first day on set, I believe.
Yeah, I remember that well.
So that scene is a particularly big scene in the extended cut. The other thing that's interesting in the extended cut is you have Macaulay Culkin playing the younger version of Napoleon. And in the 9-hour cut of the movie, there's a 45-minute sequence where he has to defend his house from Corsican burglars, sort of on the coast. They're kind of like scaling up the cliffs, and he creates loads of traps for them and stuff. I felt like we'd seen Culkin do a similar role to that before. I mean, was that based on history? Did that attempt of burgling the house actually happen by Corsican pirates?
Well, yeah, the Corsicans of the time, from what we could find out, were actually 10 years old. So what we did, we went to a local primary school, and we just hired a bunch of kids, and we just took them to the nearest cliff face and said, kids, hey, you want to be in the movies? Climb up that cliff face, and when you find Macaulay, beat the living crap out of him. And, we only lost 2 kids, which was fine. But we got the shot, more importantly.
Oh, yeah, it was just a little bit of collateral damage, of course, I mean, for the 9-hour director's cut, I think that it's a very small price to pay.
Yeah. Welcome to the movies, right?
Literally small in the case of the 2 children. Well, we've got your historical advisor on the film, Captain Llewellyn of the British Army.
Louis.
Yeah, Louis. I didn't know that was his nickname, but yeah, he's here. He's taken time off from training the young uns at Sandhurst, I believe. And you hired him to be the military advisor. Before we bring him in, there must have been a few people clamoring for that job. You've got the likes of Paul Biddis, who we've interviewed, of course. I'm not sure if he was going in 96 and Butternut and Blue and a couple of other companies. What did Llewellyn bring to the production a different historical advisor?
Well, what impressed me about Louis, is that he just barged into my office and he looked at me square in the eye. I mean, I like that. He took charge and he said, hey, Hamilton, I don't know shit about Napoleon. I don't know shit about the revolution, the wars, Nelson, and so forth. But you know what? I'm the guy for you. And I thought to myself, yeah, I think this guy's got something. I think he can bring a little pizzazz to the show. And that's ultimately what got him hired. And I believe to this day, he still doesn't know shit about any of the French stuff. Neither do I. But, he put together one hell of a movie we're all very proud of.
Well, let's bring him in and find out exactly what he does know. Here he is.
Very good to see you, Gary. Again, very kind words that you said there.
Louis. Good to see you too, mate.
And
very good.
There you are, Louis. Or can I call you Louis?
No, Captain.
Captain. There you are,
Captain.
I'm having such a little Napoleon at the moment. But it's been a Christmas time and the officer's mess,
Merry Christmas, Captain.
Merry Christmas. So, Captain, tell us what's happening in this scene here. I think this is the woodland ambush sequence on the march to Russia, something like that.
Yes, this is where I was talking to Gary about the section commander, the formations of a company, and where you use BTR-60 personnel carriers, you see. And this was useful in the movie because it just resembles the tactical awareness of the British Army.
Right. Okay.
Very interesting.
So, oh, sorry, I've accidentally taken him out. There we go. Let's get back in there. So, I mean, one of the really interesting casting choices was Wellington, and I believe that this was justified because somebody came across a letter from Wellington that says that he got an extremely good tan just before the Battle of Waterloo. So presumably for that reason, you felt safe in casting a very young. Of course, he wasn't big back in '96; he's just starting out. But cast a very young Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yeah, he was still fresh out of WWE at the time. I think this is his first ever on-screen performance outside of the WWE.
Yeah, and this was before the Scorpion King. This is it was an exciting find, and I thought he brought a real pathos to the role, and he really sucked us in. I mean, my God, it's like he started the movie a boy, and he very much left a man.
I was working with him. Good man.
Oh, good. I mean, we'll talk about some of the legal issues of the film later. Now, there's a rumor that Jennifer Lawrence invented a time machine in order to try and get the part of Josephine on this film, which was ultimately unsuccessful, I believe.
Yeah. God. What we can say about that lady, she did kind of come in. I was in my office initially talking about casting choices, and what happened was a portal opened on my wall, and she walked through, and I said, "Lady, seriously, I've just had that wall replastered," and she just wanted to audition for this part, and what she did was said something incomprehensible along the lines of "Fatang, ole biscuit barrel." I said, "Lady, what was that?" And she said, "It's a little known Shakespeare play." And I thought, wow, okay, she's done her work. And we thought about it, but ultimately we just went in another direction.
Yeah.
Did you manage to send her back to her time, or did she just stay there, and that's why she is here today?
Well, I tried to send her back, but she just wouldn't leave me alone. So, what the JLo we see today is actually just a lookalike, a doppelganger, if you will. The JLo, the real JLo, is actually 65 and living in Idaho.
All right.
There you go.
And we're talking about.
I actually had a portal come to my officer's mess, and
oh God,
my great grandfather, who was at the Battle of Waterloo, he come and talked to me. And he told me about the Battle of Waterloo, and this is strange about this time portal. I thought I was going a bit mad, but I'm glad you've had one as well.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's, hey, it's Hollywood, baby.
Captain, we can tell that the expertise that you put into crafting all these battle sequences, I can tell that you really knew your stuff. So that's for sure.
It's over 35 years in the British Army.
Let's talk about
boy.
Let's talk about
Skill at Arms, Fieldcraft, and just mention the name Khaki, and I get all excited.
Very good. He's up on the eggnog there, Captain. Perhaps. Let's talk about some of the other cameos in the movie. We got Al Pacino as one of the French generals.
Yeah, I didn't like him. He wanted his character to be called Luca Brasi. I said, dude, the 70s are over. Move on.
I think he cost like 11 million on the budget for just 2 days, which is quite
sweet Jesus. He did.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I mean, it's Pacino, but
no, it's quite a big task actually. But ultimately, I do think that he added some pizzazz to the role, even though he was just in a couple of scenes.
Yeah, some of the other actors that were considered for Josephine, and initially, I believe you actually filmed for a week with Yoko Ono, but she kept sort of like yodeling in between takes. Can you maybe tell us something about that.
Well, we had a number of Swedish people there on crew, and I just thought she was kind of communicating with them in their yodeling language, that thing they do. But apparently, this was it was her art. She likes to yodel, which was kind of weird, but we made it work. The horses you hear in the film, you know what they are? They're her. So, so they were a lot cheaper than getting a lot of horses. We just got her into the studio and we said, Yoko, do your Swedish thing. And she was there for 5 hours. And we got all the horse sound effects we needed.
Did she
That's
get
incredible.
Did she get a sound design credit, even though she didn't get to play Josephine? Yeah.
Oh, God, no. God, no. Give that woman an inch. She will take at least 5 miles and then talk about John Lennon some more. So we kept it just to the yodeling because, she was cheap.
But I did find she was a divisive figure, and you should split up my divisions a bit.
Yeah.
It's difficult to work with.
Okay. Uninspired, do you want to tell us about some of the other people that were up for Josephine before the?
Yeah, so in the initial Muppet version, of course, we talked about Miss Piggy, and of course, even when the Muppet version was cancelled, we heard that she still wanted to stay in the movie, and she was placed somewhere in the background as an extra that we see from time to time. Could you confirm that?
She was indeed. I mean, she just seems so sweet and endearing, and I thought she had a future in drama. Because her whole shtick is, oh my God, Kermit, I love you. Oh, please. But I thought I saw something more. I mean, we got Meryl Streep, Miss Piggy. I mean, Miss Piggy, Meryl Streep in the same sentence. I think it's about time. I'm sure we all agree, But, she kind of saw what she saw on set and thought, I'll stick to comedy.
I can appreciate that. I mean, one of the other Josephine cast that really, really intrigued me was Queen Latifah, who was at the time a pretty rising star with some of the shows that she had done, Living Single, I think. And it is pretty interesting if it would be her and Martin Lawrence side by side as Napoleon and Josephine. But sadly, it didn't happen. Could you shed some light on that and why she wasn't cast?
The thing is, she did come to set to visit, and then he met Llewellyn. And I'm just saying, Latifah, Llewellyn were not seen for at least 3 days, and then he came back with a limp. Louis, what did you do? What did you do, Louis?
Well, what I did, I was take him into the forest where I showed him how to do fieldcraft. And which is how we put it up. You see, we put the
I bet you put it
basher
up.
The basher. It's called a basher. And he had a trouble getting his Bergen off, but I soon helped him with that. And,
okay.
But he learned everything. He knew how to survive in the field and under pressure. Corporal, can you make sure you iron my lanyard? What? I know it's a piece of rope, but I want every strand of that rope ironed out.
Captain, you can mute yourself if you need to.
You have to use an iron in the British Army because there's loads of irons in it.
Yes, I hear. Other casting choices. We just had Steve Guttenberg, who plays a cameo as Josephine's lover, of course. He was riding quite hot at the time from 50 Police Academy films. Judi Dench wanted to play Josephine at one point, but she...
No, I wanted Judi Dench, but, she's a woman of class, but I don't know. I guess she looked another way.
And then we had Joanna Lumley was in the mix, but Americans didn't know who she was, apparently. No, she was...
Yeah, I still don't know who she is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the most interesting one was Sandra Bullock,
Well, she
but
was cast, wasn't she?
well, yeah, that's what I mean. Is I think that it's interesting that you guys went with Sandra Bullock, and the fact that you
Mm.
added her that you cast her as Josephine not only, but you added an extended scene where Josephine is stuck in a runaway carriage and can't slow down, otherwise the keg, the gunpowder will explode that's attached to the back. I think it's pretty interesting that you added that into the movie just by casting Sandra Bullock. It is reminiscent of another
yeah.
film, though.
What film? What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. I mean, I had that.
It must be another person that I'm confusing her with.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, no, the idea, I had the idea of initially in 1987. I thought to myself, I need something going fast. I need it to blow up, and I need somebody called Sandra. And that was 1987, long before that other Jan de Bont, whatever the hell his name is, came along. Yeah, I have sole copyright ownership on that idea, and I wanted somebody called Sandra. And luckily enough, she came along, and what can I say? The rest is history. And I did get her to speak German in the scene. She likes to speak German for no reason whatsoever. So, she may, it may have been set in France, but I thought, hey, Sandra, German, I like it. Deutsch yourself away.
No, it was great casting.
Russians was there, I do believe, but and they had the leopard tanks.
Oh, the leopard tanks. Okay.
So Brad Pitt appears in the film fairly early on in the revolution scene. I mean, the scene where he gets shot by grape shot, I think, it's a slow motion. It's very Sam Peckinpah. Of course, we can't have your director with us today because he's dead. But Brad Pitt got hit, he had 50 bullet hits on him. When he went down. That sequence in slow-mo lasted 5 minutes in the 9-hour cut. Was there any? I mean, was that a lean in from director Tooley Johnson to lean in Peckinpah in that scene, or was that something you?
Well, Peckinpah was definitely on our minds, but that scene actually took 3 weeks to film because what he kept doing is he kept wanting to take his shirt off, and I said, no, Brad, it's not that kind of movie. You're dying very dramatically. Keep your goddamn shirt on. But no. So what we found ourselves doing is each time he ruined a take, we just added another gunshot. And as you just said, he got shot 50 times. So there is, I believe, circulating on the net 3 takes of him taking his goddamn shirt off and ruining the take. The voices you hear on it are mostly me and Louis going, for God's sake, Brad, nobody cares. So, that's how that turned out.
Oh, yeah. No, but I do think that the 5-minute extended version in slow-mo, it's so majestic, especially with the score.
Yeah.
It complements it. Yeah, exactly.
It's a ballet. Yeah, the fluid motion, it's just lovely to watch. So, when we eventually got the shot.
What was it about Madonna at the time that made you convince her to do the score for the movie? She's got 9 songs, and she also does instrumental stuff with Bjork, I believe, with no instruments for the sort of the grander instrumental scenes. Is that what was the inspiration for that direction?
Well, I was just walking along Boulevard, and I saw a guy playing a ukulele. Those little guitars, ukulele. Is that what they're called? Yeah. And I just thought to myself, Madonna, ukulele. It's a winning combination. And I just said to her, Madonna, give me something in F sharp minor. That sounds like a good key. I mean, I don't know anything about music. And she came up with, one of the great theme tunes, soundtracks to a motion picture I think has ever been put on. And Bjork gave the lyrical prowess of Shakespeare, I believe, to that song. So, what a combination. And I'm just bummed it didn't win a an Oscar for best tune.
Yeah,
Oh,
it got
yeah.
nominated. The song got nominated for best song.
Yeah, best
Yeah.
best original song. Yeah, and
And Gary, did you remember when I made that suggestion that we should get Vera Lynn involved? And,
Vera Lynn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good rally the troops, if you will. But
Yeah.
I think you weren't quite sure about that one, but I disagree. But never mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I did want her in. I just wanted her to go. We'll meet again. And then what we would have done is a few kind of beatboxes to come in. Do that thing they do. We'll meet again. And that is when Bjork and Madonna would come in with the ukuleles.
oh,
We've got a couple
shame
of,
that it never happened.
we've got a couple of questions in the chat here. I think some of these might be for Captain Llewellyn.
Well, Louis, take it.
So, what was behind the idea of insisting everyone wore left shoes? Why did you ban right foot shoes from the set? I think that was only for one sequence, but what was the story behind that?
Well, what it was, there was a friend of mine who works in the supplies of military equipment that I know, and he only managed to actually deliver left shoes. But this is okay, you see, because the French army seemed to march funny. So this helped with the realization of the way the French would march, because it was full of mud, you see, lots of mud. And so they wouldn't see their feet anyway, but and it worked really well. I thought it was very realistic. That's why.
I see.
And we got a second question from David Macy, who I believe works in the industry. Perhaps he was on set. I don't know. In retrospect, was it a mistake to have a surgeon on set to remove limbs from extras for the battle scenes? Have you finished settling the court cases yet? Oh, yeah. Maybe you can't talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah, the court cases are ongoing, but I will say this. We had about 70 extras who wanted to go method. And I'm an accommodating guy. And I said, come on, really? I said, yeah, we like Stanislavski and all those other, acting stuff they do. So sure, we obliged. But that's all I can say.
Okay. Before we talk about the extended cut, a couple of other casting things. General Blucher was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who came in for 2 days of filming, a bit like Pacino, but he was paid $8 million more than Pacino. So for Pacino and Schwarzenegger, that was $12 million of your. I believe your budget was $290 million for the 9-hour cut in the end.
Yeah.
What did Schwarzenegger bring to the role of General Blucher, the head of the Russian? And I know Bruce Willis was cast originally, but he didn't do a Russian accent, so that idea was quickly rejected. Tell us about Arnie.
Well, he begged to come on to the set, and I thought, well, let's see what he has to offer, because he said to me in no uncertain terms, he wanted to come back to bodybuilding, and he could use this as his kind of leeway to get back into that role. So it was kind of weird that when we yelled action, what he kind of did was this. The other actors would talk to him, and then he would just look at them, and he would strike a pose.
Right.
I said, Arnie, that's not in the script. But then he would just go, I think this brings more character. And so, but Arnie, just say the goddamn lines. Again, he refused, and his entire scenes are just bodybuilding poses. So we had to go with it.
Captain Llewellyn, did you have to train Mr. Schwarzenegger to load a blunderbuss or a flintlock or anything like that? Or was he already?
He's a good strong man, and I've seen him in as a platoon, and he played a very good soldier in that there. So he seemed to know his drills pretty well, and but so we had a bit of a laugh together, you see, because apparently his family were Nazis.
Right.
All right.
And he told me about that. It's going back in time and stuff like that. And he come from Austria and then to America and everything else. And obviously he's not like that. And we were very up and talking about the history of the Battle of Alamein.
Fantastic.
It's very interesting.
I mean, this line is right at the end of the main trailer.
Fantastic.
Get to Quatre Bras.
Get
Yeah.
to Quatre Bras. Oh man, Arnie was he was fantastic. I mean, I think that Bruce Willis maybe would have ruined it a bit because he just doesn't have that presence that Arnie delivered to the role.
Yeah, I think you're right. Ultimately, we went with the silent body posing Arnie because, I mean, you look at Bruce Willis and you think, hey, there's John McClane. And we had a German person, or I should say Austrian person on set. And you know what Bruce is like. He can't let roles go. And if he saw Arnie on set, he'd probably take him up to a skyscraper and push him off, because that's how Bruce rolls. God love you, Bruce, if you're watching.
I mean, obviously they get on a lot better now, having opened that chain of restaurants.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But, yeah, at the time there was a bit of rivalry there with Stallone and Willis, and so on. What another question for Captain Llewellyn? Why did you require all the extras playing the British soldiers in the Battle of Waterloo to complete a parachute jump before filming when there was no aviation technology during the period? Was that? I mean, what was that? Was that to sort of toughen them up, or
Well, it's all part of military training, you see, and we need to toughen them up, but be aware of the place that they're going to land. You see, I want them to know the aerial view of the battlefield. You see, and the best way to do that is to push them out in an airplane anyway and let them see it on the way down. You see, and then they know where everything happened. You see, so they volunteered for it. You see, because they wanted to see what it was like, and there was a couple of guys there that needed a little bit of encouragement, so we gave them a bottle of whiskey each, and they just fell out. But they landed fine, you see, and but this is a very important role, you see, of military awareness of the field.
right? Well,
I think it was reflected in the final cut of the film. I think that it was great, but it does lead me to one of my next questions. Is that after the Battle of Waterloo sequence, I mean, even to this day, there's still a reported 17 horses and 24 extras that are listed as missing. Would any of you care to comment on that, or what happened? Because we still don't know the situation all these years later.
Oh, okay. Well, I might add a couple of things there. Look, Petter, the people for the treatment of ethical animals were on our asses. So those horses you saw are actually a number of town locals in horse costumes. I mean, it was fine. They were in the distance. You couldn't really make it out. But so that's how we kind of got around not using too many horses. But the horses that went missing were just the costumes. So that's how that worked. So I mean, in terms of the other extras, it's not that they went missing. It's just a lot of them wanted to be called Alan Smithy on their credit lists, which is kind of weird. But hey, what are you gonna do? Alan Smithy 15 times. That's what that was.
I mean, you have
a decision to make as well. We did lose some of the extras when they jumped out of the airplane.
One of them got stuck on the Paris Eiffel Tower, didn't he? I think
that's correct.
They put a dummy up there to commemorate the sticking of him.
Why they were called out Smithy.
Yeah. That was awful. Did
he make it?
Yeah. He's just a torso now, but he's traveling the Comic-Con circuit, reading poetry.
Oh, that's nice. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the more unusual elements in the 9-hour cut of the movie. We mentioned earlier that it was released as a 9-hour film, but then cinemas complained that too many people were soiling the cinema seats. They were so gripped, I guess, by the brilliance of the film. They didn't want to step out for a wee. They just kind of went in situ, as it were. So you had to break that into then 2 movies, 4.5 hours each, which is actually what Ridley wanted to do. He should have looked to your example. There's a lot of scenes about Napoleon's sort of domestic life, and then also he has to fight this secret society, which again I think is, I don't know whether this was a plot for the film or whether it was just something that factually happened, but isn't the secret society led by Jennifer Lawrence, and she brought a load of ninjas on set, which ended up in the 9-hour cut, and we got some shots of them here.
Oh yeah, that was a rough day on set. Because J-Lo would not take no for an answer, because I said you can't do Josephine J-Lo, but she came up with the idea. I want to be a kind of ninja goddess and have a lot of people work for me. I said sure, we can work that in somehow. But the fight sequences there. I mean, hey Louis, those ninja fight sequences. I mean, you can probably talk about that more than I can.
Armed combat, basically. And what we did is basically I spoke to a good friend of mine who's in the Japanese army, and he was telling me about jiu-jitsu. And it's not something we learn in the British Army, you see, and we just box each other a little bit, and drink a lot. And basically, I got him to help me out with that, and he was yoga. He was into yoga.
Yeah,
I thought that was very valuable.
Yeah, it is very interesting, the fact that you kept that in the movie, and especially because there is also another very, very heavily criticized sequence. However, it was kind of revolutionary for the time because it was one of the very few VFX that started to get used, and it was the day that you were short-handed on catering, and so you told the extras to go take fruit from a nearby orchard. And of course, this resulted in farmers arriving en masse to set with shotguns. And so the fight broke out for real, which you decided to film and include in the movie as one of the battle scenes, which of course led the shotguns to be digitally removed, which of course, incredible.
Which I think had been done from E.T. around the same time. So I guess you took the nod from them. That is that's quite a brutal fight. I mean, the scene where one guy takes a shotgun blast to the head and his head explodes and the blood goes over the 2 people standing next to him. Incredibly realistic looking.
Yeah, it was. But I'm always of the belief that use what you got. So, yes, we pissed off a lot of farmers. Yes, they came to have a word. And I just said to our director, you know what? Let's use this. Let's get the actors and extras we have and go fight them. Go, action, roll. And whilst it was perhaps a little out of the ordinary and not what you do today, my God, I think the footage speaks for itself.
Oh, yes.
And don't worry, that head exploding. That head exploding, it was a watermelon, and nobody's head really exploded. Somebody. So I threw a watermelon into the mix, and it got shot, and we caught it on camera. Everyone's fine.
Thank God for that.
Very proud of that scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Fantastic job. I was muted. Now we have an Egyptian prince in the movie. Especially his story is more of a thing in the 9-hour cut of the film. But he gets quite a bit of screen time, does Will Smith. And I mean, it's quite weird because there's a scene where he whacks this younger guy who's like his footman, who's like his assistant, proper slaps him across the face in the movie, and that turned out to be quite prophetic. I think, take your banana out of your mouth and haul my bags or something. And I forget the line.
Yeah. He went around the entire set doing that. I mean, he walked into my office and slapped me and said, "Give me the goddamn roll." Well, why are you slapping me? So I think that there is a history of slapping for no real reason. But it's exactly how you see it on the film.
I mean, do you think that Ridley Scott trying to steal this Egypt sequence in his new rendition of Napoleon, do you think that he, especially considering the fact that he doesn't acknowledge the 1996 classic that you guys made, I just think it's an insult. What are your thoughts on that?
He is a thief, and I got to tell you, Ridley, you've done nothing since The Duelists and Z-Car on BBC. I mean, Z-Car, that police drama on BBC was amazing. You stole everything. You have no original ideas. And you know what I'm going to do? Your next production, I'm going to send Will Smith to you and give you a good slap from me, because I just think the Napoleon you see on Ridley's film are basically all the stuff we left on the cutting room floor, basically.
Yeah. Well, you did shoot something like about 200,000 hours of footage. I missed
210,000 hours.
10,000. I missed this question earlier. Maybe it's one for Captain Llewellyn. Love the part where Napoleon stood on the balcony and yelled, "I'm the king of the world." Now, what's the writing decision behind that? Was that in the original script? Was that added for history accuracy, or what's the story there?
Yeah, what did he say, Louis?
He said, "I'm the king of the world." You see, so because at the end of the day, I don't know nothing about the French side of things, and I just relate to His Majesty, and so everything is about the monarchy. And I do believe that Napoleon wanted to become like a monarch, and even though they got rid of their monarchy, but then he turned into a monarch, and so I just thought, that's good. That's just the way it was.
Oh no, I think it was totally reflected in the final cut. It's a great line too. Especially for the sequence that it's in. I mean, it's phenomenal. As you said before, it's kind of like ballet, and ballet is what I think the entire movie is, especially the 9-hour extended cut. It's just, I wouldn't even call it the extended cut. I just call it the definitive edition. It is fantastic.
Yeah. That is my preferred version as well. I mean, when we were putting it all together, I said to the director, I mean, can you make it, yellow? I mean, I don't know what that means, but it kind of sounds, provocative and like an auteur or something. And he said, "Sure, I'll make it yellow."
Yeah, he did a great job, and may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
Is this is still a Dwayne Johnson when it was considered that he was going to play the Pharaoh, or did he play both the Pharaoh and Wellington?
Yeah, we went with both, and we kind of explained that away by saying it was his long lost brother. But with the Pharaoh, we just said, "Dwayne, what we want you to do is just be offended by things. Nothing in particular, no real reason, just be offended." And I think that character arc will, be almost prophetic, I suppose. Just be offended by things.
We've got another question here from David Macy, and anybody in the chat, you want to put a question to our guests? Sorry, I'm dying here. No. I do apologize. Put the question in now, because we'll be wrapping up in about 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want to read this one out, Uninspired?
Yeah, so David Macy, question. In the after credits sequence, was the French and Saunders sketch to ensure people left the theaters quickly?
They played Josephine's Ladies in Waiting, I believe.
Yeah, kind of. But firstly, I love those girls. I kind of said to them, I want you to come up with a sketch, because we're going to put it at the end, kind of like what Marvel do. This is going to hint at a sequel. Napoleon rides again. And if you could come up with something, I don't know, funny, that will entice the audiences back for when we get around to it, knowing full well that when they watch this sketch, they're not going to care.
Yeah, and you guys were some of the first to do these post-credit sequences. I mean, Marvel basically copied you.
Yeah, Kevin, Faye, Kevin, you're watching. You copied me, Kevin. That's okay. That's okay. A lot of people take what I have, my ideas, and run with it. But I'm gracious.
Oh, I can see. I mean, so what we see on screen right now, I do have a question for this. So why did you guys cast Mr. Snuffy, Mr. Snuffleupagus as a Napoleonic war elephant for the Battle of Borodino? Because we can't really find any proof of elephants in Russia at this time specifically. So I guess I would this question would be for you, Captain.
Well, in the Second World War, they had they attached dogs. They attached dogs to their units. You see, so there's always been a relationship with animals in military service. And so looking at history books at the time, we thought that Napoleon would have liked an elephant. So he could sit on it, you see, and make him look big and stuff like that. So impressive, dramatic, and I just felt it was, well, the sort of animal that he would like.
Grandiose. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic sequence. I just think that the fact that you had all of them, costumed as well. We know that was an absolute pain for the production team, but it pays off in the long run because wow, I know that you're a producer, Mr. Hamilton, the first and the third, but the fact that you've put so much effort in this to make something that eventually is timeless and priceless as well.
Yeah, and you are forgetting something. He was cheap.
Well, I mean, it was. I don't know where all the money went, but it was quite a big budget.
Al Pacino, and God damn it, I'm never working with him again. He can go hoo-ha himself away to some other person's film set.
So I understand you had to get Mr. Snuffleupagus his own security, not because there was any threats to his life, but because all the extras just wanted to cuddle him and, sort of stroke his trunk and stuff like that. And he had to employ his own security team. In the end, was that a big problem?
Yeah, he certainly did. We needed to get an intimacy coordinator to educate people that don't touch his trunk. It's not cool because he's really uncomfortable about it. But it worked, and he, as I say, he was free most of the time. He desperately wanted to be in a movie.
Yeah, fantastic.
So to wrap up before we go to any questions, shall we just cover some of the more extreme elements of the 9-hour cut, perhaps, Uninspired?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, this mummy sequence, I think, is genuinely fantastic. I think everything is good. However, the fact that it's kind of revealed to Napoleon that it's a prophetic dream sequence of essentially him and how he should take care of the battles that he's approaching. I really want you to try and explain how it came along, because these are, 2 hours completely, these fantastical sequences in the 9-hour cut. And where did the idea stem from?
Well, I firstly I was listening to Waterloo by ABBA, and I'm thinking to myself, zombies, elephants, Snuffleupagus, that's what it needs. And we tried our best to get the rights to the ABBA soundtrack, but they wouldn't let us. So I guess what we did, we just got the rights to Crazy Frog, and we did that sequence to that, and I think it works a treat. I mean, Louis, you'd worked hard in the choreography in that sequence. I mean, what are your thoughts? I think it works a treat.
Well, basically, what it was is that in the military we've used a lot of drugs in the battlefield, and we felt I felt at the time that the hallucinogenic was going to be good for Napoleon to take, and then he would see these images and stuff because it was the Germans used MDMA in the Second World War. And I'm too sure that they put amphetamines in British food, British military food. Yes, and it keeps you awake. And so there has always been an element there, and so this I thought was appropriate.
Yeah, they do work very, very well, especially in that phenomenal 9-hour cut. I think it's thematically the elements they just mix together, and especially with the beautiful visions that were there and the cinematography, everything was, for me personally, it was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. Oh God, yes, the UFO. I remember that. Yeah, that was so good. Yeah, do you know how we did that?
Tell us.
Well, what we got was, we got those old McDonald's styrofoam hamburger containers. And what that is basically a Big Mac container and an apple pie container all glued together and painted silver. And what we kind of did was, it's a forced perspective thing, you see. We had the camera here, and we had this really teeny tiny UFO here. And when you look through the camera lens, it just looks like McDonald's is coming to invade Versailles. And I think the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. What's happening in this scene? I don't remember this shot in the 9-hour cut. Was this something that didn't make it in?
Oh, I was very drunk that day. Louis, do you remember that one?
This was the description of what the cast was seeing when they all took acid that day.
Okay, so this was kind of like the concept art.
Yeah, behind the scenes, as it were. And
so we all got it.
Is that a mummified chameleon?
For the purposes of this live stream, no. But off stream, maybe.
Okay.
I've got a lot of issues with PETA. They're on me.
So maybe the last thing we should touch upon is the inclusion of the dinosaur beasts in the extended cut, where Napoleon kind of rides out one more time before he goes to banishment on the island of Martinique. I mean, I'm not sure there were any Tyrannosaurus Rexes left at that period in history. What's the thinking behind that? Jurassic Park was out around that time, I think.
Well, here's the thing: if you know your Napoleonic history, he kind of he went to Egypt and dug up a lot of skeletons, and they were French skeletons. Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he took them back to Gay Paris and assembled them, skin and all. And what we see is basically on screen is a virtual recreation of a French dinosaur. So yeah, pretty historically accurate.
Absolutely accurate.
Captain, considering that these are prehistoric animals, and well, now that we know that they're historically accurate, of course, how did you conduct these massive sequences with all of them? I mean, they were fantastic, but could you just shine a bit of light on the tactics that were used to develop them? Because adding this massive amount of how would I say this, beast power, it did change the tide a lot.
Well, there was one dinosaur that could speak English. And so when I spoke to him a lot, he used to communicate with the other dinosaurs that was in the scene and everything. And he was like kind of a good friend of mine in the end. And then he come and but he died.
My apologies, Captain.
So sorry to
He died, he died after being in an episode with David Attenborough.
Well, maybe if you need to take a moment. That's it.
No.
These are the stills of Napoleon's last years here. So the aging makeup is very good.
Oh yes, it was fantastic for the time. It was incredible. I mean, the posters themselves, the artistry behind them was next to none at the time, especially.
Yeah, and Darth Plato's pointed out wrongly. Martinique was where Josephine was born. What was the name of the island he went to? I know he went to Elba first, but then it was, I forget. I was asleep by then in the Ridley Scott film.
Ibiza.
Ibiza. This was a role that John Candy was supposed to play originally, I think.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, we were working with a number of spiritualists just to try and, bring him back from the spiritual plane to do this movie because I wanted no one other than John Candy for this role. But we couldn't quite get in touch with him on the spiritual plane. So, we looked elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's too bad. He would have been great.
Yeah.
He would have.
Chat's liking that idea. John Candy would have nailed that part.
He would have. But the psychics we employed to try and get in contact with him were just terrible.
Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it up shortly, mainly because I'm about to pass out.
Okay.
But I just want to thank our guests for coming on, taking time out their busy schedule. Mr. Gary Hamilton, the first and third. Is there a story behind that name?
Oh well, I am we had an uncle who disappeared, and who was also called Hamilton. So I decided to take on his moniker, the first. But I am actually the third.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess that probably helped with some inheritance issues. So,
true.
What are you working on next, Mr. Hamilton? And will Captain Llewellyn be joining you?
Yes, he will. I will be working on a play, a musical number with a few sci-fi elements. It's called "My God, I Hate You," Lin-Manuel Miranda, because I had a conversation with that man in 2000, and I said to him, I'm kind of thinking of a hip hop musical, based on me, my life. Hamilton, the third and first life. And what did he do? Well, history speaks for itself. So, that play is going to be a rousing response to him, again, stealing my ideas. And Llewellyn's going to coordinate all of the fight scenes.
This is
and
great
right, Louis.
Great news, Gary. I was hoping that you'd employ me again on one of your movies, because I haven't worked since then on any sort of production, even though that Christopher Nolan has got in touch with me about making a remake of it's like a remake of The Bridge Over River Thames, where the Japanese invade Kent and a bunch of British officers have to rebuild London Bridge. You see, and but yes, now I'm looking forward to getting on your next project, Gary.
Yes.
The team back together.
Is that an alternative history film, Captain?
It is, yes, and it's CGI, and it's going to be amazing.
I see John Woo's up to direct that, so I'm going to be very interested to see that. I'm going to bring in our technical man he's been sorting through the production stills you gave him, of which there were thousands. Been showing us a mere selection of them today. Thank you for your help on the stream, Mr. Stupenza.
Thank you, Stupenzo.
It was a pain in the ass to grab all these stills, especially because it was like 5 VHS copies was the only one I could find. So I had to digitize everything, which took hours, 9 hours at least, and then I had to go through the footage, pick the best stills. It was hard.
Yeah, we
Glad
probably
y'all-
should have mentioned that the film is banned in 27 countries due to various court cases pending. But maybe we'll do about that on part 2.
Well, Iceland love it. They love it there. It's been playing continuously since its release.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, I've always said this is my favorite part of the movie, where he becomes blood drunk after the Napoleonic arms race and has the vision of his hellish nightmare of going to hell and making a deal with his soul to the devil, and all that stuff is crazy. And then, of course, at the end, when he gets like superpowers, I don't remember any of that from the first time I watched it. I mean, I don't think I'd ever really seen the 9-hour cut all the way through without going into some kind of epileptic fit. But I managed to sit through it this last time, and I totally forgot about like all the alien stuff and how he achieves intergalactic peace and gets superpowers. It's mind-boggling, and it's crazy, like you said, how much Marvel has borrowed from this movie.
I know, right?
Very true.
It's bad.
Very true. Yeah, indeed.
embarrassing.
Indeed. Well, thank you to our guests for coming on.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you for having me.
The
So
natural
sorry.
pleasure.
Guys, we may be back on tomorrow night at 10 p.m. with the Nielsen ratings, but if my cold doesn't improve, I may postpone that stream, but we'll see.
Yeah, take a rest, man.
I may well do. All right. But thanks to everyone in chat for taking part. This is a very unique stream, so do please share it, our guests.
I've always joked about how like covering this movie for only an hour and change is like, oh, I want to do like a 20-hour stream for this. Like you could break it down scene by scene and go for a whole day and a half. Really, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe we can get Sandra Bullock on for that
Well,
one. We'll
you
see.
guys
I
did a
hope so.
really great job, is what I'm saying. You guys
Yeah.
made a wonderful film. You should be proud.
Thank you. Thank you.
And God rest Martin Weir's soul. He didn't win the Oscar, but he was close.
Almost.
Missed
He
it
was
by
close
about-
twice. He was close twice.
Missed it by about 6.5 inches. So that's it from us for today. Uninspired, just tell us what you got coming up.
I've got Lance. Well, normally, hopefully, if you're feeling any better, Die Hard on Saturday with the Uninspired Hour or so. So yeah, that'll just be it for me. And then I've got a video coming out next week. And it was a pleasure to be on with you, Producer Hamilton, the first and the third, and Captain Llewellyn, of course. A pleasure. And Enzo, thank you again for grabbing all of these stills from the classic Napoleon film.
It's not like I was busy doing anything.
The definitive, and you can check out Stupendo's channel. Tales from the Dork
Oh,
Side.
wait. Oh no, that's my wallpaper. Sorry.
Oh,
My desktop.
that's all right.
But yeah, check out my channel. Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna be on Cannoli's channel after this. Talk about Aquaman. Oh boy.
The link is down there. Thanks very much to my guests. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Like and share the stream. Sorry, I was a bit coffee, but we'll see you again.
Man, you did
No
great.
worries, man. Yeah.
All right.